Welcome to North Dakota After Dark. It is after dark and it's North Dakota, so it is currently trying to blizzard. What would we call this weather?
Someone called it a clipper.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
they
a
call it.
clipper.
We had
Yeah.
we had a clipper coming through.
Usually those are
It's
only
highly
found in
technical.
yeah, Kindersley and at barber shops, but I guess Grand Forks also has clippers.
Yeah. Or I've heard it referred to as a snow squall.
Hey, that
That
sounds
was a
good
new
too.
one for that was a new one for me as well.
So is this you volunteering to do the weather portion, Kelly? Need a green
Absolutely.
screen?
It's shitty out. It doesn't seem like it's gonna get less shitty.
Yeah,
And this is ruining Halloween for me.
right.
So
Yeah.
that's the weather in Grand Forks.
You need one of those little clickers.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
Amanda should take you to a tryout at
Points by
Valley News
green
Today.
screen.
Yeah, you hit her
I'm
up for that.
personally I'm personally offended because I think you went sexist right away, Kyle. You didn't give me a chance to interview for this position.
Hey, I'm sorry, that's how it works. I was born in the 70s. I am sticking to it.
Yep.
I'm not going
I've
to
Weather,
got
change.
weather
I've
gal.
got this I've got this red dynamite strapless number, makes my hips look fantastic. I'm telling you, I could be a contender.
Tori, quit trying to invade women's spaces, okay?
Now, do you know any other people named Cam, Corey? Because I had an idea. You could have the Cam show. Just tease it out with your oldest and someone else. It could be witty gems like that if
Yep.
people
Oh,
stick
good.
around. Yeah.
All right. All right. I don't think Cam would do well. He'd kind of just stare into the screen as your typical 15-year-old boy and go, that's so dumb, Dad.
I'm
So
assuming
dumb.
I'm assuming you've seen YouTube. That seems to be a path to make billions of dollars.
Oh, nice.
YouTube is not much more than that
Wow.
in my limited experience.
That is true. That we're the dummies because apparently you can quit your job on stuff like that.
So my boys will like, hey dad, you got to see this video. It's so funny. And I'll watch for 30 seconds and I'm like, where's the joke? Did it cut off? Is there a part two? No, dad, it's funny. I'm like,
When does it get funny though?
I don't think it is. But
No,
nevertheless, these
no.
guys are keeping our economy going. I'm not sure what they're doing, but
Yeah.
Well, someone's got to waste money on needless things that you would spend on YouTube money. So,
Right.
and speaking of needless things, I think that is the perfect segue to what I want to make a very brief first segment. The Heritage Classic was played last night between Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton now sitting at 2-5-1. You can only hope to contain them. Scored a win over Calgary, so they'll keep their fans happy. Kelly, did you get a chance to look at the outfits these guys wore to
I'm
the
looking
game?
right now. I
If
am
not,
looking at
I'm going to consider
Ooh.
going high tech.
What are these? Okay. These are a little vintagey. Okay, I'm pulling this up here.
Yeah,
They're different.
Kyle, you got to share that on your screen.
I'm going to
We
It's
got to click on that.
I'm going to get after now what I was thinking of specifically, Kelly, and I will get into the screen sharing here in a moment as soon as I get it dialed up.
bold color choices, bold color
Yeah,
scheme.
and I'm assuming are you looking directly at
Right now I'm looking at Edmonton.
just
Um,
and we're talking just the jerseys, right?
yep. Well, the breezers are really what, kind
B
of
Made by Bacardi? What are you talking about,
yeah,
Kelly?
the gold breezers. It's not typically a choice you'd see with the orange and the blue. But they're like I said, it's a bold choice. It's a
Yeah.
bold choice.
And so I was going to speak very specifically, Kelly. I'm going to show you their pregame attire,
Oh,
which
okay.
seems to be a little bit more. Now, can you guys see? My screen share is loading.
Yep.
Let me know when you
Oh,
can see
there it
it.
goes.
Okay, this is the
Oh,
Oilers.
I didn't see
Okay,
this.
you know what? Oil stuff. I get it. They're fake
Yep.
coffee cups.
Yep.
Here's the Flames.
That's so wonderful. And I'm not sure where they pulled from. Like, because the Oilers, you can see the connection. Like, you can
Yeah,
see Oilers. Yep. Calgary Flames, I'm not sure where they were reaching with that. I approve. I think
I
that's
figured.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's as we know, I have a thing for these stupid, beautiful hockey boys.
Yeah.
It's my niche, if you would say.
Guys,
Yep.
before you go any further, because it's a audio podcast, I've got to somewhat describe this for people of what you're currently commenting on. So the Oilers have dressed up in what can only be described as very the basic of oil rig maintenance outfits, which is your blue jumpsuit with yellow caution stripes,
Yeah.
and the hard hats. It's your very typical oil worker type costume. So think lunch pail kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And the Flames have gone another avenue, another route, so to speak. The Flames have decided to I don't know what can only be described as a North Dakota Class B 9-man football team look.
Yeah, it's the
It's
the Carhartt bibs with no shirt
Yeah.
yep.
and the cowboy hat. What I'm wondering is, does Calgary have like a very like a rural background? Is
Kind of.
farming?
Yeah, I mean, it's known for the Stampede, which is sort of,
Okay.
I think, what they're
Okay.
getting into here. Southern Alberta is very rural with a lot of ranches and such. So it roughly fits into the milieu, if you will, but it's tried to reinvent itself as more of a corporate headquarters. Edmonton being the government blue collar town, Calgary being the headquarters Louis Vuitton crowd, and they've gone a different way. I think they're
These
all
guys,
Carhartts based on the logo.
these guys look like three of my four best friends from high school that were all named Brian.
Yeah, I can see that. That fits.
I think
That
this is what
fits.
happens though when you let knucklehead hockey players make decisions that they all agree together like this is going to be fantastic. And I say that with the most love. I married a hockey player. I am the mother of two. I have many hockey players in my life, but hockey players tend to love to make fashion choices like these.
Yeah.
And they really do.
Yeah.
They're doing it.
Hey, they're yeah. You know, this one gentleman in the background's got a farmer tan going. He's got that bib pulled up way. He modest, I guess. He's got that bib pulled right up
Yeah.
to his collarbone. Other guys are letting it hang out a little. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Never in my life have I wanted Phil Kessel to play on the Flames as much as I do
Oh
right
gosh,
now.
can you imagine?
I know.
That would be tremendous. And I'm going to do my best. I think I bought a new video editing program, and I'm going to do my best to make introduce this one video only, which is why I was eager to share the screen. Not video only, video option, we'll call it.
But I do like this.
Yeah, I kind of thought you would.
It makes me want like all the NHL teams to have to do this, like before games, kind of like Hunger Games style where you got to represent your district. I'm really liking this.
So so Vegas as dealers?
No girls.
Oh, even better. I was thinking, do they still have cigarette girls? Because I really think that'd be tremendous.
Not that I saw. They have lots of cocktail waitresses, and they have massage girls that come around to the slot machines and will give you a massage while you're playing a slot machine.
Even better.
Yeah, but it's funny that they don't have cigarette girls because you can smoke everywhere in Vegas.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to be in Vegas for work in January. If I just casually drop the name Kelly Moreland, am I going to get comp things?
You should after my last trip, because believe me, I told my husband I hit a little bit of money at the airport on the way out, so I didn't leave completely financially embarrassed. That's what he asked me how it went. That was the summary. I'm like, well, let's not talk about it because I'd like this marriage to continue. So
Nice.
That's a veteran move, Kelly. I like it.
Yep.
Very, very well done.
I'm gonna teach Matt. The only question you ask, I'm gonna say a spouse. The only question I ask my spouse after she goes out shopping, which frankly is the equivalent of you going to Vegas, is can we pay our mortgage this month?
Yes. And if you can do that, there's nothing left to talk about.
And Corey, if not, Corey's built a very fancy looking rink in his front yard. So I think he's making a transition style house there.
Right.
Yeah, we call it a shanty or a lean-to.
Okay. Is that a legal description, Corey, or common usage?
Well, I mean, there's at least 3 squatters living there right now.
This rink is in the front
Yeah, right?
We put it.
yard. I'm gonna have to drive by. I'm
Hey,
gonna do
he's
a
Uh,
drive.
party in the front, business in the back now.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I
They
don't know.
we have made the ill-advised decision to put the rink in between our houses because
Mhm.
it's the only flat land on our properties that has the space. You should know that we have incorporated a tree within the rink, based on the place where we put it. We call the tree Big Buff. You better skate with your head up.
Yep. This could have some consequences. Also, you guys, what you have welcomed on yourself that you have made this that children can always see it, you will have no peace until spring. There will never not be little snot-nosed children all over your front yard. So you brought this on yourself,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, it wouldn't have been so bad if our neighbors wouldn't have come over and said, "That's cool. We're going to make you a sign." Which I thought, boy, that's a really nice thing to do. He's like, "What do you want to call the rink?" And I looked at Fabian. I'm like, "Well, I'm not a clever guy. What do you got here?" And he goes, "I don't know. What about the Windward Hills Arena?" And I said, "Sounds good." And he's like, "No, wait, the Hills Arena." And I was like, "Well, you've done it again, Fabes. You've done
Yeah.
it again."
You really should have considered selling the naming rights.
Yeah.
We tried. We
Tried.
tried. Trust me.
Did you try hard?
No, I mean, I
No.
gave it
Okay.
my usual try, which was I thought about trying, and then I thought, I can sit in my basement and drink whiskey.
That's even better. Now, I think before we go too far down this road, I think we should tease out the fact that we will have a local rink building legend on soon,
Yes.
and we can get a little further into this. I would like to point out for those of you who are fans of legal trivia, an outdoor arena spanning 2 yards, is in the North Dakota Century Code. That is called North Dakota Adverse Possession.
Nice.
Nice, thanks, Kelly.
Although it's
That
not adverse if we both are aware of and enjoying said thing.
But I mean, in this part of the country, it's
Oh, okay.
very passive aggressive and North Dakota nice.
So it's
So
regional, is what you're saying.
that's how adverse things get in the area. So
Oh, okay.
you have to handicap for the region, Corey.
Well,
I'm
it is
still
open and obvious use.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kelly.
waiting for an Erie and Fabian feud, and there's gonna be a red line drawn right down the middle of the rink.
Actually,
Side, Jackson on this side.
there is an ongoing feud.
Do
The
tell.
Hatfields and the McCoys all over again.
So I came outside one day after I put my Christmas lights up very early, and I noticed Eric was putting up his Christmas lights, and he said to me, "My wife never made me put up Christmas lights on the top part of the roof until you moved in, but now I have to." And I had to order more lights on Amazon. And I said, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. Are we going to do that thing where we see who can get the most Christmas lights on your house? Because I'm a pretty competitive guy, Eric."
Yep. Yep. It's the Griswolds.
Griswold on Griswold action,
Yep.
Yep.
You've done it now.
which I'm sure is
We're
available
gonna be
somewhere
able
on the internet, but I am not going to look today.
In 2 years, this thing is going to be a nuclear arms race where you could land planes in the hills.
I look forward to it.
As do I. As do I. I really like to say the word segue. Let's use this time to segue into what's everybody drinking tonight.
Kelly?
I'm not drinking tonight because I drank enough in Las Vegas. So I'm spin drying out tonight.
Spin
And
dry. That's a great
as I
phrase.
said, I get to wake up for 6 a.m. hockey practice tomorrow, and I don't do that. So I will probably need a drink tomorrow night, but I was served enough free drinks in Las Vegas that tonight I have to give the liver a rest. It's a recoup day.
That is tough but fair.
Yep.
And I really like the phrase spin dry. That's tremendous.
Yep,
That is great.
Yep.
Corey?
Tonight I'm drinking a 12-year Bushmills. It's delicious. I'm celebrating the fact that it's my wife's week to wake up 2 of the 3 early mornings
Oh, yeah.
for the early morning hockey. So I get to sleep in until the right time of 6:45 tomorrow, which is my usual wake up time, instead of getting up at 5. So I'm very happy about that. It's quite the wonderful evening here in the Erie basement.
That's so
I'm
nice.
just I'm just sucking in all the whiskey and radon fumes. I'm just a happy guy.
Just really takes the edge off, right?
It does.
It does. I am drinking a Belfour whiskey and water with ice out of a Yeti cup, who are not a
Ooh.
sponsor. But do you know any contractors in the area that might use Yeti cups that you want to talk about, Corey?
I do know some contractors in the area who may use Yeti cups. Actually, we've heard of this company called Endries Construction. They've got 20 years of experience. They've worked on banks, oral surgeries offices, dentist office, schools, retail space, auto body shops, you name it. They can build it. They can offer assistance on all phases of commercial construction, from initial design all the way through completion. You dream it, they make a reality. You want your next commercial real estate property to construction project to be a breeze, see the guys at Endries.
Just tremendous as usual, Corey. And as I understand it, the guys that work at Andrews like to wear Unreal clothing, also popular in the hockey world. And then sometimes if they've had a hard day of constructing, I think that's the word they use, they clean up with
Sure.
Duke Cannon soap. Duke Cannon, the soapiest of soaps. That's all off the cuff. You're welcome, everyone.
Kyle, sultry, just sultry.
Yeah, it's that whole hour of yelling for Parker, who didn't show.
What a jerk.
Right? That's what I said.
What
Um,
what a My family is mired with headache issues this week. My son got a migraine while we were on the road this weekend in Duluth for the Duluth Hermantown Grand Rapids swing, and he missed the game with a migraine. And I spent the day cleaning up his puke in the hotel room, which was just phenomenal. And my other son today gets headaches and can't go to hockey practice. So, either we're becoming great at faking headaches, or there's this weird stuff going on.
now,
With
this
someone else, that would be a level of commitment I would admire if that was fake. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to him.
the program, it seems to have devolved into a walking HIPAA violation, but I think that's fine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not of age, and so I can waive that right.
Oh, man.
Privacy.
Getting technical. I love it. One of the other topics we wanted to cover today, this is Corey's baby, and I'm going to let you take it away, Corey. Your thoughts. You can tease out your own promo.
You got to give a topic, Kyle. If
You're
you're
the
asking my thoughts.
So we're sort of, I guess, could be described loosely as a youth season preview episode. And one of the things Corey's wanted to
Primer,
talk
we could
about
say.
so far is tryouts, and then I guess a topic that's near and dear to parents' hearts is if your son or daughter didn't make the team they were hoping for. Corey had some thoughts on that topic.
Well, let's start with the first phase of that. You got the
Okay.
tryout process, right? And so there's, as I've gotten to my second child in the system, now trying out for different levels. In Grand Forks and many towns in the region, we have from the top down, there's a double A team, an A team, a B1 team, and then a B team. So there's levels. Now, the benefit to this is your child will, at least the idea is your child will get to play at a level that is competitive for their current skills.
Right.
And so there's lots of opportunities to play the game at different levels of skill that are appropriate in time for them. So that's the general concept behind this. What it turns out is that your child has to attend a series of tryouts for a group of evaluators to place your son or daughter in the level that the association feels to be appropriate for you. It's usually a process that takes around 2 weeks. First week or so is some pre-tryout skates to allow them to segregate the children into different general areas of practice for the tryout, and then the tryout process, which is usually what, Kyle, around 3 days.
I think, yeah, typically, I think, yeah.
So the most fun tryout process was during my first child, was to watch all the parents absolutely lose their mind worrying where their children would end up. And I was right in the thick of it because it was my first kid, and I was nervous about where he would end up and what sections he was in. I also was front row center for a parent absolutely undressing a hockey association employee
No
because their
kidding.
child did not get to the right tryout practice on the first day for his level of skill. And
Oh wow.
that was my first experience with hockey parents because I'd never been a part of that as far as tryouts. And I was like, wow, this is a serious thing. But it's ranged anywhere from parents will drop their kids off and go to a local watering hole and sit quietly and do their best not to talk about hockey to text messages speculating where they think that each child will end up, all the way to the ending date. And so, Kyle or Kelly, I would welcome your thoughts on first the tryout process and how you manage the insane amount of stress with your child trying out for sports.
Well, I had a couple of thoughts. I think the first is, I think there's always going to be, question marks about how the process is set up, right? And I think that's fair. But I think it's Churchill's words on democracy. It's like it's not a great system, but it's better than
The alternative?
everything, the alternatives, right? So I think that's fair. I think there's a concerted effort to find something that is going to be fair for everyone and do the best with what you got. Because I think you could spin your wheels for years and years and years trying to find the perfect system, and it'll still come down to tough decisions on kids that are on the edge. You know what I mean? That could go up or go down and be perfectly fine. And there's going to be a human element to it, and there's not much else you can do about it. So I think the intent is there to make it fair. And while there still be question marks, maybe people upset back and forth, I think it's kind of what you're stuck with. I think absent some new invention that I'm not aware with, and that's the practical side. I think the other thing, and I noticed being like the first real time going through it, is that I think you used the word palpable before, Corey, but I think everyone seemed really either on the surface or internally pretty wound up. It felt like an air of tension in and around the arena, and which is tough for everyone. I think it's tough for the kids, and heard anecdotally some stories about kids that weren't handling it well in terms of just too wound up. And I think that permeates up and down from parents down to kids and kids up to parents. And once everything was over on Wednesday, I think there was a noticeable relaxation across the board, which I think is nice, just to move on and play the season. And having worked for a long time as an agent, I think kids will find their way, and it's important to play at the level where you can make a contribution, not play at a level where you're going to tread water, because it ends up being a lost development year. So I think it's important to keep that in perspective. Kelly.
Kelly?
Yeah, no, I agree. I purposefully stayed away from other parents just because I just, I just basically what I told Jet, who is my 12-year-old in this group, so was trying out for Pee-wees. I just tried to maintain just the most positive, relaxed attitude I could about it possible. I just told him, I said, you go do your best. I know that you always, give your all. I said, but there are factors that are going to come into this that may be out of your hands. And I said, in particular, as a first year buddy, I said, so go show what you want to show, and then just leave it. I said, you'll be that where you get placed is where you're going to be placed. We're going to trust the system. We're not going to question. I said, we're just going to go with that. And I think that, I think that was every kid is different. Some kids, pressure is what they respond to. Mine is not one of those. I have to just let him not think that the world depends on this, because it doesn't. And that's when he does better and shines. But I just told him that. And so that was kind of why I just avoided it in general, even like discussing it with other parents and stuff, because I thought this is a process where you don't have to love it, but you do have to buy into it.
Yeah.
Because it causing more chaos with it isn't going to help any of these kids out. And I know that there would be those that would say, oh, your kid made double A, da-da-da. You know what? I would have been just as happy if he didn't. And I told him that. And I meant it quite honestly.
Yeah.
I said, just put it all out there, show everything you got. And I said, great news, buddy. I'm going to be so proud of you no matter what team you made. I said, that's it. And that's all. And so I kind of stayed away from it too, because I just wanted him to understand is that there are going to be certain processes that you go into in life where it the ultimate decision making won't rest in your hands. So you're going to just have to, like you said, Kyle, it's not a perfect system. And, but it can't be designed to make everyone happy. And I even said that to Jack before he started. I said, this is not a system designed to make sure that everybody walks out of here 100% happy. I said, some people will. But I said, it's not going to be everybody, and you just have to accept it. But the one thing that we had a big talk with him before is I said, my full expectation, no matter what team you make them, I said, if someone makes it who you thought maybe you should have made it over, my full expectation is you will congratulate them. Yeah. I said, there will be no, you shouldn't have made it. I said, it's not going to happen. I said, and if I feel that happens, we're going to have a problem. I said, because I said, that's not how that works. That's not good sportsmanship. And I said, I said, you are a first year, so you just have to accept that the dice are going to fall where they're going to fall. So I said, all you can do, put it all out on the ice, leave no regrets. Don't feel like there was anything you didn't show them. And then you're just going to have to wait and see and then deal with the result.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to come at it. Really good opportunities for lessons and class and grace and making the best of the hand you're dealt. So a lot of good, going to sound like an old timer now, but a lot of good teaching moments there.
And I didn't want this. And for any of these kids, I get nervous that they think it speaks to their level of value as a human. And I'm like, that's not it, you know? So, and granted, like you said, Kyle, I think that it's that wonderful balancing act of, am I playing against people who are pushing me up, or am I treading water?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, you know, is that you don't want to be, and the great news about the Grand Forks hockey program, and I think a lot of hockey programs, but I feel like especially our kids' age group, where it's such a big group and there's so many good little players, is there was a lot of ways you could have mixed those bags and you still would have gotten a good result.
Yeah. And that's
a lot of those kids are right there. Yeah. And so that was just what these kids were up against is it's tough when you're in a great group.
Yeah. And that's, I think that speaks well to the system too, that there's a lot of kids. It's not a bright line in any one spot. There's going to be a lot of mixing at the top and bottom in certain areas, which means that kids are getting better and have the opportunity to play up higher if things broke another way. But again, that's part of the process here. And you know, when I say treading water, I've seen this happen so many times with more or less the junior level, or kids moving, say, from high school to a AAA maybe before they're ready. It is, again, they are really worried about the team they're playing on, not how they're improving as a player. And at this age, it should be, am I better in March or April than I was in September and October? And if the answer is yes, then it's a success. Not that like, oh, I can write down that when I was 12, I played on this team that has a couple or whatever the letters are. And if you didn't learn anything, or if you didn't get to play much or play in different situations, again, it's a flat line year in terms of your development most often. And that's what I come back to in a lot of different cases here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that. It and you know, I mean, a big thing too is that I always with both my kids is just being careful of it. It's a hang up for me. I don't want my kids to be victims. You know, I want them to understand is that sometimes things just don't go the way that you want them to, not because you're the victim of the situation, just because it's the way the situation went. So, because I just think, you know, if it, you know, it's okay to be disappointed, but it's when you start the blame game, you know, that it just doesn't accomplish anything. And so that was, you know, that was the things that I wanted to remind him is just don't start the should have been you, should have been it. Don't do it. It won't make you better, won't make anybody else better. Doesn't work that way. Right. So that, you know, I think it's, you know, it's opportunities for growth. And like I said, I know that it's hard because my kid ended up getting the result that he wanted. But you know, you got to just kind of send him out and go, it's gonna go the way it's gonna go. And mom and dad can't control it. That's why I like the no parents in the tryout.
That's a nice feature.
Yes, I think that that's a good call. I really, really do, because I think that as they get a little older, you have to understand that there's certain things that mom and dad can't push this through for you. It's got to be you or that's it. So, and I also think too is just that every parent is going to watch with parent goggles, where you're watching your kid and you're focused on your kid. And so you're going to take away from it, well, my kid did so good. And it's like, well, but sometimes that's parent goggles. I do that with my kids sometimes too. It's something we all do because we love our kids. But so I think sometimes it's a good thing when parents are forced to step away and go, got to just let them do this one.
Yeah, and it's good business for the sin bin too, right? So
Exactly. Kyle always accuses me of my parent goggles being broken, but
no, but that's true, Corey, because sometimes it is the opposite. Like that's Matt is always harder through parent goggles. I mean, it just depends. Sometimes you're harder on your kid for being your kid, and sometimes you're easier on your kid for being your kid. So it's just
and you did a great job of hitting the points that, frankly, were on my list to hit. It's their parents do not belong in any tryout of any kind because we do watch with parent goggles, and there are comparisons being made. The thing is, the thing that grinds my gears is that we don't understand the process of the bubble, right? So I ran baseball tryouts, and I was an evaluator of baseball tryouts, and I'm going to tell you the story anecdotally. So when you're looking at making a team, or at least when I looked at making a team, let's say 12 kids, right? Usually 6 of those 12 kids, maybe 8, they stuck out immediately. You saw them right away. These kids were the top 6 to 8 kids. They're going to make that team. And then there was maybe 2 or 3 other kids that looked good. They stood out from the rest. And then there was a big group of kids, right, that fit into what I call the bubble. And the bubble is the hardest thing for evaluators to jump between, because then it gets to, what are people looking for? What skills do you have that someone other kid, or what skills does this kid have that the other kids don't have that play better with the 6 to 8 kids who already made the team? Or what intangibles are they bringing that fit the way this coach wants to build a team around? Are they big? Are they fast? Are they skilled with their hands? Do I have all that, but I don't have a scorer? Well, this one kid isn't fast or strong, but boy, that kid is a scorer. And people don't seem to understand the building of a team within the bubble. And they get so frustrated when they say, well, my kid is arguably marginally better than this next kid. That doesn't matter. Even if that's true, that doesn't matter, because you're on the bubble. And we say up and down that we want our kids to understand adversity, and kids these days don't understand adversity, and they can't handle adversity. And then we're the first people who come in and start telling these
shield
kids,
them from adversity.
yeah, you should have made this team. It's ridiculous. And I'm going to call the association, and they do. Or I'm going to call their people's parents and say, my kid should have made this team over your kid because my kid's a better skater, regardless of the fact that they can score and I'm looking for a scorer, or that I'm looking for a kid that skates better in the neutral zone, or I can probably go through 30 attributes. But it's amazing how much we complain about these kids not having the ability to handle adversity. And we don't just say to the kids, listen here, kiddo, you're right. You were probably in that group of 4 to 6 kids. 3 of them made it, 3 didn't, or whatever the numbers end up being, right? You didn't make it, right? So let's talk about why you were on the bubble. Maybe we should talk about the things that you can do and your skills and where you can be to next time be off that bubble, because you don't want to be in the bubble in real life. In real life, you want to be able to set yourself apart from other people and other players or other job applicants, because when you're on the bubble, you could be left to decisions like, this kid can do this just a little bit better, and that's the skill we need. Or, let's be honest, that kid might not have got picked because mom and dad like to complain a lot when their kid doesn't make a team, right? No one wants to deal with the mom and dad because of who they are. Those decisions shouldn't lean that way, but we're humans, you know. And I'll be the first person to tell you, as an evaluator myself, there has been a time where I've looked back and said, after a season was over, whoa, I made a mistake as an
Yeah.
evaluator. Maybe I should have taken that other kid on who was on the bubble, and I thought kid A was not kid B. It happens. Mistakes happen. But
The risk.
Happens everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
This is the time to teach kids this. This is the opportunity for us to get in there with our kids and say this. And I'm not saying I've always made the right decisions myself, but why teach your child that you didn't get something so you deserved, so you should whine and cry about it, instead of let's fix the problem. Or, hey, do you care? Did you care that you made the B team instead of the B1, or A instead of the double A? Or were you happy? Me personally, my kid walked out of a tryout and said, "This is the team I'm going to make." It wasn't the double A team that he said. He pegged himself.
Yeah, I think kids have a pretty good idea for the most part, right? Like especially when you get a little older, you can see where everybody else is at, and then you get sort of a feel for it, right? And I think that's the self-awareness, I think, is helpful.
Yeah.
To me.
I like to remind people too. I mean, with Matt coaching high school is the highest level that a lot of these kids will play. Now, hopefully they play on, college. That's the hope. But the majority of people, high school will be the highest level. When they try out at high school, there's no sheet that says, I made Squirt A, I made Pee Wee Double A, I made Band. There's nothing. They come in to the high school tryout, and that's what it's based on. There's no rap sheet that shows their previous teams. They don't really care at that level. It's who can do the best job right now.
Yeah.
So I always want people to remember that too, is just that it, in the long scheme, I respect that you want like when Jet went into this tryout, he really wanted to be on double A. I respected that was his goal. I loved that he was reaching for the top, but like we talked about, you can reach for that, you can strive for it, but you may not get there. This year doesn't mean anything about next year, right. But it so that I think it's good to have good goals and to strive, but also to be realistic that, there are disappointments, and it happens, and you have to be able to deal with it. And, you have to look at the big scheme. That's what I told him. I said, what's the worst case scenario here? You still get to play a great year of hockey with your friends and improving it better. It's a pretty great worst case scenario,
And I think just your previous point, I think I mentioned it before on this podcast, but the in town here, County East Grand Forks, there are 2 kids born in 1997 that are still playing hockey, playing professional, not a high level, but playing professional hockey. Neither of them made an A team, played in high school, but neither of them ever made an A team, and they're still going and playing pro hockey, right? So just like you said, it's the further you get away from it, that designation just becomes less and less important. I understand it's important at the time. I was that age too, but yeah,
it's a clean slate, and it's that progression. I mean, it's great, but it's that steady progression. I mean, like you said, with the kids, it matters, and it should. They're little. Yep. That really does matter. It should matter, because it's important to them, and what that is important to a 12-year-old. But it's, like as a parent, I think that you have to be, that's where parents come in and offer that perspective, instead of going, you were robbed, it should have been you. You can even say those things because you love your kid. You need to make them feel okay. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just when it creates problems between the kids, it's like, don't do that either, though, because that achieves nothing. That achieves ugly attitudes. That achieves bickering and meanness. Don't do that. I mean, part of life is sometimes having to be happy for other people, and you have to learn that too.
Yeah. Corey, I have a question for you, but I just want to make a point to just a follow-up to Kelly's is like, I think I've said I've been an agent or advisor for like 13 years, give or take. As soon as I hear a kid start to complain to me that, if I just had this line mate, or if I just something that's outside of me, like I always want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's always the start of a downward spiral where the excuses mount up, but the work goes the other way, right? Every time. And I'd like to say that kids can figure it out and turn it around, but it happens every time. So I really try and one, tell parents this, and two, not do it myself, but never say, oh, well, you were wronged, or, this is your, just, even if you want to think it to yourself, I think I've done it, makes me feel better. I'll try and never say it to a kid, because once it seeps in there, it just starts to fester. And I've just seen it too many times.
Well, that's a policy that we have at our house too. When Jack gets off the ice, if he starts with the, well, so and so did this and so and so did this, I'll go, what do you think they'd have to say about your game today?
Yeah.
And that usually shuts him up pretty fast. I go, because I'm going to tell you, buddy, you didn't play a perfect game. And so if you are willing to criticize, I hope you're also willing to invite criticism, because that's a door that swings both ways,
right. Hey, yeah, good way to say it.
You don't get better thinking about what other people could have done better. That's needless. If you can't identify what you could have done better, then nothing was gained.
Right.
Well, I don't mind acknowledging the truth of statements, right? Even when I'm talking to my kids, because, my kids have been around a guy, not hockey, obviously, but baseball and football, where I've dabbled in the coaching a little bit. And I'm going to use hockey as an example because it's easy, but, my older boy played a game. I won't name the town, but it's in, the Minnesota somewhere where I was this weekend. And the reffing was apparently a bit slanted towards the home team. There was a few calls that I thought we really should have got that were blatant. But he came off the ice and said, it was a 1-goal game. We would have won that game if we had gotten those penalties we should have got. And I said, well, I might agree with you, but at the same point in time, how did you do? Did you keep battling? Did you make any mistakes? Did you cost us any goals? Could you have been better today? Was it really the reffing? Did we play our best as a team? Did the team play the best game of their lives, but they were 3 potential power plays were lost? Or is it really, we just wish we would have got those calls, but we didn't play very well today? Which was, in all honesty, it was the latter. We didn't get 3 or 4 calls, but we also didn't play real well.
Right.
It's not the refs' fault. They weren't.
That you will acknowledge the truth in a statement, because I like that a lot. That's a fair thing.
And that's not like individually based either. That's more of a general picture. So I think that's a good thing to note. I had questions for each of you on the same topic. Who wants to go first?
Kelly, go ahead.
Okay. So you said about 34 minutes ago, Kelly, that you tried to avoid parents. And so during the tryout process, which I think is fair. Now, given I think just to be honest, and I hope this is fair, but there are some heightened levels of anxiety around. And so I'm of 2 minds. Is one, you can go the route you took, which is just avoid, or 2, if it makes you feel better to get some stuff off your chest, you probably find a willing participant with many parents just to chat back and forth. So trying to take your own personal experience out of it, could you do a quick pro and con to the avoidance versus group talk therapy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I never wanted to be, I wouldn't want other parents to feel like I don't care about who's going through as well, because I care deeply. I am an empath to a toxic level. I care, I care more than I should, but
Sure.
so I never want it to come off as that. It's just I am just a parent that I feel like I acknowledge, I know my kid is not a perfect kid and not a perfect player. So I have no advice to offer to other parents on what their child should improve on, because I just don't think that my kid is perfect. So I agree with you, Kyle. It's hard because there are pros and cons. It's just my own personal way, because I just wouldn't want other parents to think that I was evaluating or sizing up their kid. Sure. I only cared about what one kid was going to do going into that. And that was my kid. I want for all, I mean, if I got to pick the team, I'd pick it based on all the parents I like to hang out with. That's terrible, but it's just the truth. But I love all these little boys so much. I think they're all amazing. I think I love their I've enjoyed watching all these boys since they've been termites. And so that is just was my way of handling it, just because I don't ever want to I would never want anybody to think that I was evaluating or sizing up their kid or anything like that. Because, like I said, it's a process where there's a relief that it's not in our hands. I wouldn't want to pick these teams. I would lose sleep over it. I would be sick as a dog over posting those names, because if I thought one kid felt bad as a result of my decision
Yeah,
making,
right.
I couldn't handle that. So I am a person where I'm thankful these decisions are out of my hands. But that also means that I don't have a lot of criticism for the system,
Yeah.
because I'm not doing it. I'm not making that decision. I even say to my husband, like when he gets home from Central tryouts and he has to do cuts, I'll say, how do you possibly do that? How do you look at a kid and cut a kid? I would be fired as a coach, because I'd be like, that kid cried, we're keeping him, he's staying.
Yeah.
We'll find a place for. I don't care if I have to drive behind the bus. That child is staying. That's how I operate. I am a solely based on feelings person. So I put it in the hands of the people, and I also, like I said, I tell my kids, you don't have to love it, and you can feel maybe like you don't agree with it, but you do have to trust the process, because everybody has to surrender to it to a degree.
Yeah, I think that's
So
fair.
yeah.
Um, Now we're approaching the hour mark in our show, and it has, at least to me, felt like an hour of complete reasonableness from wire to wire, and I'm sort of disappointed in it. So, Corey, I'm going to try and tee it up to have you go off the rails. Are you ready?
Hit me with
Okay.
it, sir. Let's get after it.
I'm going to start. This is, again, for North Dakota, mildly adverse, but you talked about your baseball evaluating before. You talked about you can easily find that, the top few, maybe the next tier down, and then there's a big group. So you sort of alluded to the fact that it seems that you might go in with almost a ghost roster in mind. And my experience with that is related to Hockey Canada. So they went through a phase in the mid to late 90s where they would write down a list of players they wanted, number one center, a checking center, 3 right-handed defensemen, so on and so on. And they would go and find those guys, and the results were poor. It also led to a team that didn't use Wayne Gretzky in the shootout. Your thoughts on whether or not you should pick, say, the best 12 or 15, or do you like the ghost roster system? Discuss.
Of course, you're going to catch me in the middle here, Kyle. I'm sorry,
Oh, damn it,
but
Corey.
I like to pick the top, the one in my experience, the top separate themselves easily. They've
Sure.
just got certain skills and attributes that are just above the rest of the group. So it's been my experience that, again, on a roster of 12, I get 6, 7 kids that right away you see the skills and I have the skills, right?
Yeah.
Then that next grouping is still kids who have set themselves apart, but aren't in the top group, but just below that. Now, when I get down to my last, let's say 3 or 4, so my bubble zone, then I start to look at what skills do I have in my top grouping that are going to absolutely make this team, and how do I get contributing players? And the reason I say this, in baseball, there's an anecdote that everybody can play second base, and I don't need 4 second basemen.
Right.
Right. So I need to find skills that will go work around what I have in the team. Maybe I need more power hitting. Maybe I need pitching, which is almost always, if one of the last 4 kids is a good pitcher, he's going to make the team, because you can't have enough pitching. But so really it is a hodgepodge. I look at what I have and who's going to absolutely make it, and then I try to build my team with the skills I need from there. So no, that's not even controversial, Kyle. I'm sorry.
It's not, and that's fine. And you did your Your answer did remind me of another saying that I have heard in Saskatchewan. I was just there, by the way. I still can't pronounce it. But in Saskatchewan, everyone can get to second base at a family reunion. So very similar to what you're getting at.
Well, it's like someone told me this weekend on the hockey trip. They said, Corey, I bet it takes you 2 years to use a bottle of shampoo up.
Oh,
Geez,
so
that's
so
almost.
rude.
Geez, speaking of Canada, I think that's actually a hate crime in Canada.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember who said it to me too, because I stopped and laughed. I thought it was comedy gold.
Oh,
Pretty mean as we're getting into the holiday season,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
right?
That's true. I mean,
Yeah, I will tell you, I've had since the teams were picked. I don't, as Kelly was answering, I don't shy away from the conversations with people about whether kids made it or kids at different levels, because most of the conversations I've had with people have been more. It's kind of funny, but hey, do you think my kid got screwed, or what do you think? And most of the time, as to hockey, I'll say, guys, I'm not a hockey guy. I mean, I just don't have that level of experience and analysis. But if you want to talk about things, well, let's take let's look at the skills. What skills do they bring to the table? What skills do you think are their best? Well, they're strong, they're big, they shoot well, but honestly, they're a little on the slow side, right? And so then you look at the roster construction. Was this a team that needed more strength and size, or is this a team that was built around speed? And I've had those discussions with people and just not telling them the answers to their questions, but trying to help them work through the process of parsing out, okay, what can you tell your kid? Okay, so your kid's biggest gap is they're on the slower end of the spectrum. Give them that piece of information. Say, hey, this is something that you need to work on. That's that's something I wish we as evaluators would do more of is giving a report card to parents to show,
Yeah.
hey, your child is a
Yeah.
great scorer, but deficient in these other areas, and this is why they made a team that was in this area. That could be something, but I will tell you it's hard because in the times that I've done it, I've turned over evaluation cards. The parents in the minority who fall into the angry parents will argue with you about the evaluators'
right.
evaluations.
There's people open to feedback and there's people that are not open to feedback.
Yeah.
But you're right. I agree with you. But I think it's good either way because it's like there are things. Even my own husband, who like you, Corey, has broken parent goggles, where he'll say to me like, "Well, Jet's not fast," and I'll go, "What do you mean he's not fast?" And he'll go, "Not very fast, Kelly," and I'm like, my angel is a and believe me, I know he's not an angel, but I'm just saying is that it's true that sometimes there are things that you need to be adjusted to, and then the next game I watch him, I'll think, oh, I see what he means. I see. I didn't see it, but now I see what he means. I get that, but he's just a better evaluator than I am. I am not a good evaluator. I am an emotional person. I see things through emotion. He sees things through evaluation, so but I know that about myself, so I'm willing to accept that, like I said, you wouldn't want me to pick a hockey team because the first kid that cried would be like, you are our starting center. You're playing the whole year. I love you. You come sit next to me, because I'm an emotional person. But I agree with you, Corey. I think feedback is good because you can hear it or you can't hear it, but there will be some people who hear it and they actually do something positive with it.
So
Now,
I'm going to play devil's advocate real briefly here on the feedback. I think one has to be careful too, not to put too much stock into what one or two people say, because I could pick 10, even like good hockey people in town will pick one player. You're going to have wildly disparate views because everyone sees things differently. And that goes all the way, say, from squirts all the way up to the upper levels of the NHL where people miss stuff or they don't value stuff as high. And so just, you don't want to be like, oh, one guy told me I can't skate, I'm going to go all in on skating. And it's like, well, that's one out of 10 didn't like your skate. You know what I mean? So just to be wary of what you're putting your chips on, to steal a gambling reference.
Well, I think that's a great. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's a weird thing too, because like, have you ever? I won't specifically say the person because they were my age and they played at UND. But I would always think to myself, how did this guy get this many people to believe in him? Because he's not very talented. But he did, because he had certain attributes that I think people really wanted for him. So he had people that got behind him, pushed for him, and I thought, this is not a great hockey player. I cannot believe that people don't see what I see,
Yeah.
like I think everybody's seen those people that are at the higher level, and you think, and granted, like I said, there might be people who watch my kid and think that, and that's okay. That's all right.
It's okay to have different opinion, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Kelly, I did Kelly, I didn't know Eric Fabian was your age.
Ooh,
They
snap.
would never be Eric Fabian. No. I'm gonna tell you
I'm
guys,
gonna pay for that joke.
when I tell you his name, you're gonna go, yeah, because I don't
No.
know. He was just one that always perplexed me. Even when I cheered, I thought, I don't get why he's here. But it's, again, I don't pick college hockey teams, so
you,
no one.
you do see it all the time though, and it happens at the young levels and it happens in the NHL. But like sometimes it's like the perfect storm where the right people see you at the right time. Like I same deal. I know a guy little older than our guys who had a weekend where he was out of his head and has traded on that for a number of years, right? Because you keep thinking, even though you might not get it, you're just still hoping. It's like almost like a high thing. I hope I can get him back to that area. There was an played with the Oilers, and a guy named Brad Isbister, who you'd watch him for 10 games and be like, I don't think this guy's an NHLer. Then he'd go out and have 2 goals, 2 assists, and a fight, and you'd be like,
There
plan the
you
Stanley Cup
go.
parade, and then you go back to 10. You're like, a couple more games, we're gonna get it, and again, 4 or 5 years go by, and it's like, well, but the same thing happens too, where you see him you see something, and you think you're going to get it back, and just eventually time answers the question. But you know what I mean? If you see something as an evaluator or whatnot that you can really hang your hat on, and you want to see it again, you keep giving those chances, and this is not a knock. It's just sort of part of the reality of how if there are human evaluators with a lot of subjectivity, that can happen, right?
And I
Well,
think
and that
I just
Yeah.
think you can. I think there are kids that when you see it, you think, really that kid? But you can have a bad tryout. Life is, and that happens. That's
Yeah.
that's gonna, if you're gonna pursue on to another level, you have to appreciate that sometimes a bad tryout can be what lands you on a team that you maybe don't necessarily belong on, but
Yeah.
that's where you're here.
Or bad tryout, illness at the wrong, just so many factors, right?
So many factors. I know my own nephew, when my dad passed away, I know that season affected the path of his hockey, just because emotionally it was a very hard season
Yeah.
for him. It was he, but there was the people picking at the junior level, they could only use what was in front of them. They can't understand the whole backstory,
Yeah.
that's, it's just, so sometimes it's just the way that it goes.
and luck is a thing, Kyle. You said it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
a lot of it. There's a reason why baseball determines quad A players, guys who are stuck at triple A forever, and they may bounce up and down. There's a razor thin line between those kind of players and NHL, or I shouldn't say NHLers, but MLB players, the guys who are barely making a roster, and the guys who never get out of AAA, or the guys that bounce for a couple years and then they're in the independent year. And sometimes it comes down to the right guy got hurt at the right time, and you got an opportunity on the right team with the
Yeah.
complementary pieces.
Well,
Some people are just the luckiest fuckers on the planet. They really are. Like, you ever think, like, there's just people who are like, fucker is so lucky. The shit that happens to them, it's the truth. There's just people like that it was not me in Las Vegas this last weekend, but there's been those weekends. So, but you're right. Luck comes into it, Corey. It's true.
Oh, and I saw that play this weekend. There was one of the players had a nice weekend, but he just so happened to get an illegal check and just got destroyed. Stood up, and he just happened to be standing right beside the net, and the puck magically came to him right in his stick, and he buried it in an open netter. And just like, yeah, good for you. Like, that was the luckiest damn thing I've ever seen, and you scored a goal, but you were there. You got up.
You got it.
Yeah, like you think, not to steal from our other North Dakota podcast, but the young man playing for UND is Hunter Johannes, right? Didn't play a ton at American International. Went to Lindenwood, sort of a newer program. Did well for himself in 1 year. Now he's at UND and looks like a game breaker, right? Like he could have easily played out the string at AIC and been on to whatever career he wanted to take, but took a chance, found a spot, turned that into another spot. And so skill, yes, but also some luck involved. And so someone saw something else in him.
And there, throughout all this, there is one other point that I don't want to overlook in the tryouts. There are players, and I've had them myself, who they and their parents are reasonable, and they will come to you and just ask for, hey, what can we do to be better? What are the things we didn't do well? What stuff can they work on? And I know for a fact these players worked on those things, and they never got to make the team. And those are the hardest ones, because they want it, they're working for it, and it just wasn't in the cards for them, or for whatever reason they never reached the levels that they were hoping to, and they did everything you wanted them to do.
Right.
I hate those situations, and I feel for those players, because they're not what we're talking about for the first hour. They're the opposite.
Yeah.
They've done everything they could, and they just didn't get there. And I know in the middle there's some parenting too, but that's not an easy job on those parents.
No.
Oh, not at all. Seeing your kid disappointed is terrible. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
it is.
Even if you know it's going to be okay, even if you know, it's a terrible feeling. You want them to be happy, or at least you should. I mean, that's I guess that's a good sign. But yeah,
It's day to day, Kelly. It's day to day.
But I mean, I agree. It's that nobody likes to see their kid be disappointed, and that's just fact.
Now,
Sometimes, Kelly, I'm sorry, Kyle. Just
oh
one
no,
more
go
thing.
for it. No, you're fine.
Sometimes I really want those kids to be on my team, but I'm stuck with the asshole with more talent, and I hate that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
It's
almost it's a double-edged sword, because sometimes the cocky ones, they're only cocky because they know their worth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a universal adage there. So I saw going around both Facebook and Twitter, I think, and Instagram probably for that matter, one of those hockey parent things. And the gist of the post was something to the effect of the amount I want my kids' team to win is directly proportional to how annoying the other team's parents are. And I think that really speaks, especially to Kelly, but I think Corey can get behind that too.
So much so. Those parents, when you had shared that with us, all I could think about was a hockey game that I was at for my younger son. So this is at the mite level.
Yeah.
And there was a dad next to me who every time his kid would come out on this for a face-off, he'd bang on the glass and then explain to the kid would look up as the puck is being dropped and would explain to him what he wanted him to do. And I thought, please let us beat them. Please let us beat them, because I just want this guy to understand that he is not offering pearls of wisdom here. He's being obnoxious. He's embarrassing his kid, and he is making this insufferable for everyone here. And I was so happy. And I don't know that I would have been as happy if it weren't for that jackass. So
I think I'm going to use this opportunity to coin a phrase and call that pearl necklace of wisdom. Is that too far?
Oh my gosh, it really was. And I thought, God forbid the coaches do this. I mean, good thing you're knocking on the window to tell your child what you want them to do before every shift. And I mean, like, it was so distracting. I mean, my heart just broke for this little boy, because I mean, he's like,
no kidding,
Dad, like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, get over there, you get over there. And I'm thinking, can they just go ahead, or like, and even the rep was kind of like turning, like, do I drop puck, or
he's waiting.
No, let this man finish.
We should really get a ref dad out there and have him just do the same. Someone even pretend to be the ref dad.
We have a ref dad that we could have on this show. We really should, because I would love a ref's point of view. That's
Corey's idea.
Especially as someone who's rude to refs. I would really I want that.
I got a story about that from this weekend. A ref dad who was rude to the refs. I've got it on video.
That's so, but I agree. Like, I want to hear that because to be fair, I've never refed. So I think that's an interesting point of view to see. I want to hear about what it's like when you have a parent screaming at you. I want to hear about what you feel when the crowd is wanting you to call certain ways. I want to hear about when you get a coach that is just berating you. I think that's an interesting point of view. I think we need that.
A Minot ref will answer the calls of the Minot parents, right? So,
right.
But
that's what I want to talk to the ref about, because you've been at a game where you have seen the refs actually making calls to make certain people happy. And I'm like, and they should only be making me happy. And that's, what I wish that they could figure out. So,
fair point.
We need to talk to this dad ref that we know. So maybe that's what I need to express to him.
we could have a panel.
Maybe we could do some hand signals.
A panel of refs might be good, because the particular ref that I have in mind does not care about anyone else's opinions, and we'll tell them that openly. But Kelly's thing about, or your question about parents and or how hard do you cheer against the other team when their parents are terrible. As Kyle and I do from time to time, we broadcast games and Facebook Live for the people who can't be at the games. And I was doing that for the Bantam game this weekend. And it just so happened both on the opening night in Grand Rapids and the second game in Hermantown, we ended up standing, and the people from the hometowns just stood right around us instead of just our hometown, and they came right around us, and we warned people. We're like, listen, we're going to be broadcasting the game out loud, talking about the game. And I couldn't have had a better time being right in the middle of both Hermantown and Grand Rapids parents, because they thought it was hilarious. Every time we would be overly biased, they would laugh, and they turned back and enjoyed the game. And we lost to Hermantown even, and they still, they didn't chirp us back or anything. It couldn't have been a more fun time sitting in the midst of the opposing parents, and them actually acknowledging the fact that they enjoyed the commentary and what was going on. And it was weird. I really expected after the first period that they would just grab the torches and the pitchforks and get us out of there.
Because that can go either way. That really, that's depending on the crowd that you're in, because there are parents that wouldn't take kindly to that at all. But I try specifically, if I look around and I notice that I see no familiar faces, I'm going to move because I know it's not a good spot for me. I know. I'm like, no, gotta move.
Speaking of
the Blue Oyster Club of crowd sections.
Corey, that I teach a class at UND, and I can't make any reference that's older than about 2005 because the kids won't get it. So that the Blue Oyster Club is...
it's a deep cut.
Two out there.
It's almost like I was in Carrington watching a Class B football game my nephew was playing in, and I was talking to my son and my other nephews about Jim Kleinsasser being from Carrington, and they said, who?
Yeah. I tried to, my class is about sport governance, and I talk about just all the different levels, and it's including, referees and rules. That's a, big part of it. And I said, think about the reaction to, Brett Hull's foot being in the crease, and who? I'm like, not an obscure player. Hall of Famer, played at Duluth. You know what I mean? Big time guy, and same deal. But that was in 1999.
Kids these days, they just have no respect for old legends.
Right. Just stay up on your current events, man.
And movies that win the duration.
And movies that like
7 sequels.
Yeah. The least these kids could do. I know. That's why I very much try to force my children to watch all of these old movies and like sit down and get an education from when times were better. Okay. All right. You do this. I refuse to let you fall below the bar. Okay. Yeah.
If I have to watch dumb 30-second YouTube clips, you're going to sit down and watch Das Boot in the original German with Daddy.
Yes. My wife watched Dumb and Dumber on a flight from from Minneapolis to California with my boys, and I was Jess handled it well. Cam just fine. Parker was giggling like a school child the entire way and very audibly, and I thought for certain the people around us were going to boot us off of that plane.
And he was doing that because it's an example of a perfect film. Dumb and Dumber
yeah,
is an
yes.
example of a perfect film. A film that you couldn't make better, and I wouldn't want to even hear a way somebody would want to improve on it because they would be wrong.
Nope.
Since you guys have opened the door to movies, what do you think? And maybe we can finally get some unreasonableness in here. What do you think is the appropriate age for a young hockey player to watch Slapshot?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Uh-oh. I was like, you mean today?
I live in a swearing household, so I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I guess I would say I don't know that. Well, Jet maybe has seen Slapshot, but say 12. And my mother wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah.
My mom would be like, yeah. But I can live with it. Believe me, they know more than we like anyways. So, and also with all the stuff that there is now, like when you watch some of those old movies, I'm like, oh, this is not bad. This is not bad.
Yeah.
If I thought, like what I thought was a little risque, not anymore.
No,
So
it's really just language and nipples. It's not that bad.
right. I might raise the bar a little bit for Youngblood. I'm gonna make I might go 15 for Youngblood.
Sure,
but
I can get behind that. Now, would you consider having the kids watch A Christmas Story and then Slapshot so they can see Ralphie's mom's boobs?
Sure, yeah.
R.I.P. Belinda Dillon because she died.
Kyle, this isn't the first time you talked about a dead woman's boobs.
Better than my cousins.
Live on. Back when she was glorious, I mean, that's the good film.
And it won't be the last time Kyle talks about these things.
I'm old now. I'm kind of set in my ways. I've got my talking points more or less memorized. Corey, you got to let me be.
Yeah, Kyle, you are screaming down dirty old man road so fast at some point.
You can't. Well, hey, just like tryouts, Corey, play the hand you're dealt and embrace it.
Matt Moreland still talks about how affected he was by when he saw Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs when he was younger, and he's
in the mirror, right?
He's never stopped talking about that.
Yeah.
So these are moments that they're defining moments, core memory.
No, Corey. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was impressed with how quickly you referenced the movie where there was the nudity. I'm starting to think you're a human Mr. Skin.
Well, Kelly remembers lines from movies. I remember boobs from movies.
That's right.
So if we combined us, we could be on the worst. We could be the worst ever Jeopardy champion.
That's right. You could really.
I'll take boobs for 200, Pat, or whoever.
The only way we can monetize this is getting on Jeopardy.
Yeah, I'm starting to think of the subgenre that Kyle would be playing this game in. He's like, all right, I'm going to take full frontal in B movies with C-level actors for 500.
Listen, we had 1.5 channels as a kid, right? So you make the best of it. This will matter to nobody else that's listening, but I think I'm going to resurrect the PowerPoint party idea, and maybe my PowerPoint presentation will be, best mere boobs of the 80s.
Right. Moments that changed your brain chemistry.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, Corey, Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs in a mirror or Phoebe Cates getting out of a pool?
Ooh.
Kelly, same question.
Phoebe Cates. Yeah. Sorry.
Those mosquito bites were the gift that kept on giving.
I'm going to say the Jamie Lee Curtis because after my husband expressed how deeply those boobs affected him, of course I went immediately to Google because I needed to see.
Sure.
And I'm going to give it to him. They were absolutely glorious. So no arguments here.
And if you're looking at boobs in a mirror, it's no longer just gratuitous, it's art because someone, right?
That is art.
The director of photography is like, hey, I'm going to show boobs in a mirror.
Wait here, guys. This is gonna change cinema.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle, since we're on the topic, if you want to see the weirdest nudity in a film that I've seen in a long time, you need to watch the newer Jennifer Lawrence film, No Hard Feelings.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
I added it to the list on Netflix.
Okay. You need.
And it's not a body double, Corey. I looked it up because I thought she had to use about. Nope, she did not. She said she thought the scene was hilarious and she went full full out for it. So
Yeah,
watch this
it
movie.
was surprising. Let's go that route. I
And
was not expecting that.
hilarious. And
Yeah.
also one of the best uses of I am a Hall and Oates fan forever and ever. And the song Man Eater will
Oh,
be forever
glorious
used for
use.
me.
Yeah.
That was a great use of the song Man Eater. Yep.
So Corey, follow-up question from the 90s.
Yes.
The Jennifer Aniston body double boobs from Lawnmower Man, or Amanda Peet in A Whole 9 Yards?
Whole 9 yards, no question.
Yeah.
But I'm more concerned that this game keeps going.
Can go on
And the
indefinitely.
fact I'm slightly more concerned that I have a reasonable answer. And
Uh,
I'm not just making up the answer.
I waited an hour to go off the rails, and I was determined to make it happen, right? I saw an opportunity and I pushed it forward.
I'm more worried that this game could continue longer.
Oh yeah. I just have to sit and think about it.
We really need to. He's sleeping right now, but we need to, for the next round of this game, we need to bring Matt in because a
Yeah.
young Matt Moreland would have a lot to offer to this conversation.
If it was going to
Actually-
be nice tomorrow, I was going to go for Halloween as Matt Moreland, and the snow has stopped my plans, and I'm really disappointed.
Oh, the perfect stocks.
Kelly,
I've got the Patagonia sitting out.
Kelly, Mel Gibson's rear end in Lethal Weapon, or full frontal nudity in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
You know, I'm gonna go the rear end. I mean, the full frontal.
Okay.
It's I don't know.
Jason Segel. I almost forgot his name. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't unimpressive, but after you've seen Hodor in Game of Thrones, like I think it just changed again. The brain chemistry, and you just like
Yeah, fair
you know,
point. Yeah.
it changes what you knew existed. So you know, it was all over for me after that. So I'm gonna go, but yeah, Mel Gibson,
Okay.
very nice rear end.
Okay. Every episode of crap. Now I'm forgetting the old TV show New York Cops. I just had it in my brain. No, not Brooklyn. Kyle, help me out here. There was a TV show, gritty TV show, crime show about New York cops. Denny Franz was in it.
Oh, yeah. Jeez Louise.
God, why? And something NY.
NYPD Blue?
Yes, NYPD Blue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Basically every episode of NYPD Blue, Kelly, or let's see. I had one as well. Or Boogie Nights.
Oh, Boogie Nights. I love Boogie Nights. That's another one that's just a fantastic piece of cinema. So Boogie Nights. But I'm a Marky Mark fan. I just love that.
To make it weird, Dennis Franz's butt in NYPD Blue, or Kathy Bates's boobs in whatever movie she broke him out. The hot tub scene.
I don't know. Denny Franz, for being a sizable gentleman, he had a pretty decent rear end.
Yeah. I Kathy Bates could have skipped that scene, but I respect the hell out of her for it.
Hey, why not?
I'll say,
Yeah,
I really do. I like people that just go for it. So always.
She was a fantastic actress. Like Marla Hooch was, what a hitter.
What a hitter. Yep, I agree.
That's back-to-back episodes where we referenced League of Their Own.
It won't be the last.
Okay, gotta get the League of Their Own hat trick next week.
Yep. No, you can't reference that movie too much for me. That's another one it's near perfect film.
I'd agree. On that note, I'm gonna wind the show down because we're at 90 minutes. Upcoming episodes, I've had a request, Kelly, for a Mom Island panel show.
Okay. We can put the panel.
Some people have some things to say. Some people have some things to say. One of the requests on the Mom Island panel show was that Charlie comes in midway and asks how much longer is left in this game and then leaves, which sounds like a really good cameo. The referee show.
I am always up for Charlie always, anytime. And Charlie would add nothing but pure magic to this show. That kid is made for the entertainment industry. So
I think so too. I think I'm going. Yeah,
Tom Martin and yes to Charlie.
I'm going to try and get him on the mic with Corey this year.
He has to know who I am first. It's been 2 years. We're gonna get this.
He'll get it. He's delivered pie plates and beers to Corey's house, so it's going to happen. He's going to know his name.
Gonna get it.
Yeah. So, well, listen, we really appreciate everyone taking the time to listen. Hopefully, we appreciate Endry's construction. Sean, we're waiting for those hats that we're going to wear on the show. And
Hey, if you made it this long, next time Kyle will actually give timestamps for boobs on at least 10 different movies.
I'll have Matt write up a list as well. So
yeah.
it'll
Okay, that's perfect. We'll talk about I had my cousin and I, this is the PG version, would make we'd watch the news in the evening with the VCR on, and we'd make tapes because back in the day, Canadian TV news would show fights, hockey fights. Edmonton beat LA 7-3, but here's 9 fights for you to watch. So we'd make tapes of fights and we'd mail them back and forth to each other.
I like that.
Yeah. Early file sharing. We
Yeah.
didn't need it. We had better stuff. So I'll see if I can find a couple of those gems. So I'll try and reference more obscure things that nobody else knows about in order to bring in a wider audience. Any final thoughts, Kelly or Corey?
Just that I don't want to do 6 a.m. hockey practice tomorrow. That's not forward to it. And at this point, I don't know what the point of going to sleep is. So
I'm sorry, Kelly. We kept you a long time. What a trooper. What a trooper.
I wish that, like my son chasing his dreams would understand how this affects me.
Right.
That's just what I want, he should understand. So.
Practice during mom's hours.
My last thoughts are, can't he chase his dreams at a more reasonable hour?
Exactly. And I as I told when Ryan Cool told me that he didn't mind the 6 a.m. practices, and I told him promptly, shut up, Ryan, that's stupid. So that's how I feel.
That's the appropriate response. One thing I neglected to mention, I'm not sure if you guys saw this today, but I think we're going to have an entire episode where we watch and comment on the upcoming Amazon Prime documentary about Alexander Daigle.
All right.
Kelly, you're not going to have any problem sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
Very handsome gentleman. Very handsome. Former first overall pick.
Very handsome.
I think that's appropriate. So in any event, thank you for joining us. We'll see hopefully, or hear you before too long. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Good night, guys.